There we
Hey
go.
guys, Scott Fishman here. Today we have an amazing guest heading into his big matchup with a familiar opponent in Matt Riddle. It's at War Chamber on March 29th, MLW Friday in Tampa at the Coliseum. It's at 7 p.m. bell time and on Triller Plus for fans that want to stream that aren't able and lucky enough to make it to Tampa. Timothy Thatcher, how are you doing today?
Okay, sir. How are you today? Thank you.
Good.
Thank you for having me. Yes, big battle. The Coliseum, the War Chamber on March 29th. Fantastic.
It's amazing though, you're finding the time to take time to talk to me today because I know you've been crazy whirlwind in Japan. At this stage of your career, how is it kind of traveling, all the traveling? Has anything changed about it? I mean, just talk a little bit about the experience of, going back and forth.
Yeah, traveling is always, but it's part of the gig, right? If you want to do good stuff, you got to get on an airplane. Thankfully, my goals have always been I get on an airplane once and I stay there for a while, so it's not as hard as the poor people that got to travel every week. So yeah, I just got back from Pro Wrestling Noah just a couple of days ago. So I have no idea what time it is, sir. But but no, it's good. I enjoy it. Um, I very much enjoy wrestling in Japan. It took me a long time to end up there, but I'm very grateful that I ended up in Pro Wrestling Noah. And then before that, yeah, I lived in Germany pretty much for 3 years. So it was I like the adventures abroad. It's very nice.
And for you, it seems like it's so exciting right now because there's a lot of collaboration with wrestling companies, but there's a lot of opportunities. Like you're talking about working for this MLW show, but there's so many other, organizations just within the United States. You're a busy guy right now, so and they're very high profile, quality organizations where fans can watch. When you were first starting out, maybe it wasn't as accessible. So how is it for you to kind of see this growth and seems like such a great time to be an independent wrestler.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah. So I started in Northern California, which was for the longest time a very black hole of information. Unless you were one of the very few 30 to 40 people in the building at the time, you would never see anything that would happen in the area. So I'm very grateful that I did, you know, because pro wrestling, yes, you have to work very hard and you have to have ability and all this, but it's also a lot of luck. And thankfully, a lot of people took a liking to me, and I got to go places that, as you say, are very high profile now. And you get to travel and you get to go all these places, and people get to see it, and people come to the events, and it's a wonderful thing. Places like MLW has said they're broadcast all over. They have a big following. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, independent wrestling has always been very close to my heart because at the end of the day, I'm a wandering man, sir. I enjoy the adventure, riding into town and then riding out. It's all right.
Yeah, yeah. Your opponent at War Chamber is Matt Riddle, someone that you know very well, starting going all the way back to Evolve, and then I loved your interactions in NXT. You had the Fight Pit match. Talk about just the evolution, the history between the two of you, and what it's like to have him as again as an opponent. So many years later.
Yeah, yeah. The Fact Pit was the last time that I did see Mr. Riddle, so yeah, it's very good to have another match with him. Even though personally we're very different people, I think our mindset, though, for professional wrestling is very similar. We believe hard hitting, straightforward, more sports oriented professional wrestling is the way to go. Um, so I believe that's why we have had many battles against each other throughout the year. I've wrestled Matt Riddle in 4 different countries, so it has gone on for a long time. As I said, starting to evolve. Evolve, I was one of his first big matches he ever had for that company on his trajectory all the way up, his rocket to stardom. So yeah, we've kind of been back and forth for a long time, and this is another chapter in the big ever never ending battle between us.
The take me back to the Fight Pit when you reflect on it. I mean, it was a very interesting time. We're in COVID. Can't have fans, but you have this very unique concept on WWE television, and then you guys are a part of it. And what we've seen NXT become. But for you, how do you kind of reflect on that match? What stands out to you during that period of time?
Yeah, very strange time, right? We because because of the COVID situation, we filmed that at maybe 10:30 in the morning, which is in itself to get fired up to get kicked in the face that early in the morning is quite a feat. So, but yeah, to do that and then in the empty building that just had some of the other people from the PC standing in as an audience, and then I look over and Kurt Angle's the referee standing there, and I'm, oh, this is very strange, but quite a strange. And then Matt came jumping off the thing. I was like, oh well, here we go. So it goes. Uh, got some teeth broken, but thankfully I'm already an ugly man, so nothing lost there. I'm not going to get any uglier. And yeah, they're all pretty cracked and smashed at this point, so it's not that big of a loss. But it is interesting what does catch on in pro wrestling and what does stick, because so many people make great attempts and all this. And the fight pit's one of those things that still people bring up to this day and over again. And they call for it. When Matt Riddle was working for Raw and SmackDown, they called for it up there and everything. I'm grateful. I'm undefeated in the fight pit, and I probably will never lose a fight because I don't think I'm having another one. So therefore, I will retire undefeated as fight pit winner. So I have that. He won't be able to take that from me. So
How do you look at the landscape of WWE since you've been gone? Do you think, I feel like timing is everything. Do you think things would have gone a little bit different had the timing of your signing been, or are you kind of a firm believer in everything happening for a reason? You had that time there and, it kind of gave you an appreciation for what you're doing now.
well, I'm very grateful that I ended up there when I did, because I started with them in February, and then March COVID happened. And if I was not with WWE, I would have been in a very bad place. All my work is basically international, and that would have stopped all of that.
Wow.
So I would have been in a really bad position. So I'm very grateful for my time in NXT, and I'm grateful that it was at that point. So very, very thankful for them that all during COVID, I worked there. And then once the COVID restrictions started disappearing worldwide and all this stuff, that's when my release happened and I went to Japan. So it worked out. I don't know if everything happens for a reason, but I'm very grateful for my time that I did get to spend there, and the timing that it was. Yeah, you could say some other point might have been better, all this, but the way that it happened worked out best for me, I think. So it was a good thing.
What's your approach to the business right now? Are you happy kind of just making your own schedule, deciding where you want to go booking wise, or if the potential offer was there for you to kind of go somewhere and kind of set up shop, right? Like what is kind of your mindset when it comes to this at this point in your career?
Well, thankfully for pro wrestling, Noah is pretty stable work. I'm there off and on. I go 1 month to 2 months at a time when I'm over in Japan, and then in between the points is when I get to do wonderful things like MLW and West Coast Pro and many independents. Um, I I've always been a wandering man. I think professional wrestling is more interesting that way. The contract is a wonderful thing for person that needs the stability and guaranteed money. Yeah, it's a wonderful comfort. But in terms of professional wrestling, I don't know. I enjoy my life a lot more being able to being in charge of my own life. It's a very nice thing of picking what I want to do, where I want to go. Yeah, I get to go to Japan in October. I'm very excited. I get to go back to WXW in Germany. I get to work for MLW next week. All these things are a wonderful thing that I get to choose. I get to wrestle all these different people in all these different settings, and I find those adventures much more enthralling for me.
Yeah, and then you're also part of the Bloodsport, once again, Bloodsport 10. I'm just curious, what was your reaction when it came to them announcing, a WWE contracted wrestler in Shayna Baszler, and just the idea of that we might be seeing a little bit more of this. I mean, it's kind of unheard of when you think of WWE, but we're in a different time I mean, it kind of makes things pretty exciting. I mean, what was kind of your reaction when you found out about that? And if there was someone from, that company that you would love to see kind of mix it up now with this potential door a little opening a little bit more, who would you want to see come
Well,
to you?
Sheen is perfect. Like she was trained by Mr. Barnett.
Yeah,
Like
a lot of
originally,
history.
like from all that stuff, that's how he trained her originally, and that's what led her to WWE. So it's great that she's the one that gets to come and do this. Um, they were doing it a little bit. The NXT stuff was happening a little bit before COVID. You would see people that would get to go places. WWE was nice enough after I had signed, they let me go back to Germany for one more match, even though I was already contracted by NXT at the time. So they were doing it before, and then COVID kind of shut it down, and then you got to reschedule all that stuff. So it's great that they're allowing their talents to come out and have different adventures because it helps everybody.
Yeah.
It helps, it helps the bring more audience to the blood sport because they know Shayna only from Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and maybe NXT from past. So that brings a different audience in, and blood sport is a wonderful thing. I'm fully behind it. It's my kind of professional wrestling. As I said, hard hitting, straightforward pro wrestling. So if anything that helps draw a bigger audience to that, I'm all for. Please, please.
Is there anyone from WWE today or even AEW or, somewhere else where, maybe it wasn't an option back then, but maybe it is now that you kind of been a fan of that you're like, this would be awesome if we got in a ring together?
Sure. I was very grateful I got a match with Bryan Danielson last year. That was a wonderful thing at AAW, and I'm very grateful that I got that. It was a bit intense because I flew in from Tokyo to Dayton, Ohio for one day and flew right back the next day.
Oof.
But still, I'm glad I got that match. um, the the other members of the Blackpool Combat Club, I think, like me and Claudio Castagnoli, I think, need to meet at some point in our life. That needs to happen in the ring at some point. And I know a lot of people clamor for John Moxley as well versus me. I think both of them would be a very interesting battle. So
Yeah, for sure.
we're
And
going off those. Those are probably the
yeah, I
two.
love that. Let's hear it, Tony Khan promoters. But
Yeah,
talk
right.
about as we're heading into MLW, Court Bauer's promotion. There's a lot of international flavor. What the exciting thing about MLW is you never know who's going to be coming in and out. It seems like they're gaining a lot of momentum. I'm loving these theme shows that they're having. How is it for you to work for MLW and kind of what stands out about this promotion right now?
Yeah, as you said, a wide cast of characters, many people incredibly talented at many different skills. And it's wonderful to bring it all together. That's what makes professional wrestling interesting. Uh, I was grateful that I had a good go with MLW in 2019. I had a lot of enjoyable times there. And then, unfortunately, the last time I was there was last year, and that was a rough go. Just because things happen. And so I'm glad to be back again, have another go. It's great. I really like that Satoshi Kojima is back and he became the heavyweight champion again. Kojima is a very talented wrestler. I got to wrestle with him a few times in Pro Wrestling Noah. And he's incredible. One of those guys that's just timeless. Like they build them differently in Japan. That those guys are
Tough.
still that can continue the level of competition that they can be under for as long as their careers go is amazing. But then also MLW has many other talented people. Obviously, them collecting Matt Riddle is a wonderful thing too. That he's a regular there, and Jacob Fatu's been there for a long time, and he's an incredible talent. And Alex Kane has had an amazing rise in MLW. There's a lot of very interesting, as I said, it's different aspects of professional wrestling, which all come together under one company. That's what makes professional wrestling interesting. And MLW does a very good job at that.
And of course, this show, so much history in the area, St. Petersburg and that Tampa area, all that area. How is it for you to kind of perform there? You got any memories? Like what stands out when you think of that area?
Yeah, it is. I just read something today. It's been 20 some years since MLW was at the Coliseum, but they
Yeah.
ran it there in like 2003, I
Yeah, that's
believe,
old school right there, right from the
was the
beginning.
last go that they ran it there. And yeah, it's incredible. So, yeah, Florida wrestling is, I mean, obviously that's embedded in wonderful history. I spent a lot of time in Japan watching Dory Funk Jr. versus Mike Graham in a European rounds match for the Florida title. Tremendous stuff, sir. You know, there's all it. It's very interesting how certain areas have such a history in professional wrestling. And Florida, because of the Florida territory, the incredible talent that rolled through there and everything before and is amazing. And then it became the place for everyone because at one point everyone was in Florida. WWE, Impact, AEW, like all these places ended up setting up shop in the state. And MLW is back running there again after 21 years. ECW had a long go here, so the state of Florida is quite the historic place for professional wrestling.
What's interesting about you is you're almost like a throwback. Like you can fit into any era, I think, of pro wrestling, which is awesome. Like a timeless feel, like you were talking about with Kojima and other wrestlers. For you though, in this time at day and age, it seems like social media, promoting yourself, branding, you've kind of been able to kind of escape all that a little bit and still be successful. So talk about just that. I mean, it's interesting because anybody does a search about for you, they'll look for Twitter, they'll look for, Instagram. But it's interesting when you do a Twitter search, you'll find, or X, I should say, you'll find like Timothy Thatcher as cats, which I was cracking up looking at all those photos. And I'm sure you get a real kick out of that too when people show it to you. But how is it for you to kind of be able to kind of maintain that? I think there's almost a mystique to it too when you're not on social media, but just your thoughts and your approach to your business, because you yourself is a business, but you've kind of strayed away from all that other stuff, but still maintained this reputation built on your own reputation of getting booked and things like that, and still fans loving to see you.
Sure. I'm very grateful and lucky that I've had success despite myself. I've made a lot. I've made a lot of decisions that probably aren't the best business wise, but it worked out for me, and I'm so grateful that I did. Um, I'm grateful that there is a lot of people that took a liking to me and were very kind to me, and so my reputation kind of preceded itself. So I do get work on the words of other people. And if someone wants me to work for them, they I end up working for them, which, you know, a man I once knew used to say, if you want to book Tim Thatcher, you send this man a fax. And in 3 to 4 business days, he'll get back to you.
I was
But
going to say carrier pigeon or some other way.
yeah, carrier pigeon has to fly around Sacramento somewhere. Hopefully, it lands in my vicinity.
Right.
Yeah, but it does have because that's what everyone always said. How do you get booked? I was like, it's lucky because if people want what you do, they will find a way. And I'm very grateful that people do. MLW did in 2019, and I had a good run with them then, and they have continued that relationship now, which I'm very grateful for as well. So it is, yeah, I'm a big fan too of people's imagination is always going to come up with anything better than reality, right? So I don't understand one how everyone will allow access to everyone in the world to them. That's a scary thing. I don't know how anyone does that. And two, as professional wrestlers, our job is what happens in the ring. Outside of that, people don't necessarily need to know everything about us. They don't need to know our lives or our decisions and stuff. We are here for what we do in that ring. And that's the most important focus, I believe, for a professional wrestler. So I try to do what I believe, and that's the way I live my life. And it also helps my own sanity because I
I
think
bet.
if I had all that stuff, well, I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah, you seem very happy without it. So I
Yeah,
definitely recommend staying the course what you're doing because it's working. Um,
yeah.
you're so disarming when we talk right now. What you see in your ring, it's totally different. Like you said, it's like what we see in the ring is like that. But for you, all the traveling you do, just what would surprise someone? What's something about you that would surprise people that we don't know about when it comes to Timothy Thatcher? Is there a guilty pleasure of a show you watch, an activity you like to do? What would, surprise people?
Well, then it wouldn't be a surprise if I give it away, sir. Um, I don't. Uh, I'm a big fan of punk rock. That's my go-to. I love going to gigs, and I might have, when myself and Walter used to travel all the time together, I might have dragged him to a bunch of events that would be
Oh my
very
God.
unique to see him in that environment, I
No
think.
doubt.
so some of those goes are wonderful. But it is one of those things that, like, these are our adventures, and if we get a little bit in, then oh, that's great. But if you don't got to give it away to everybody. We got to enjoy ourselves, sir.
All right. Well, enjoy your things that, we won't know about. Yeah. It goes back to what we were talking about with social media, I think, right? You don't have to know everything about you, right?
Yeah, everybody gives up everything, and then so what's the point of trying to get to know a person if you actually have a conversation, right? It,
Yeah.
it makes things more difficult, I think. I
Yeah.
think
Well,
it's a
hopefully,
wonderful experience learning new things about people that you interact with in whatever setting that you do.
yeah. Well, next time maybe we'll talk movies, we'll talk TV. Because that'll be our second meeting, so then we'll have that to talk about, right?
Exactly. Sounds good to me. Oh, I'm all for
Yeah.
it, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Timothy Thatcher, of course. Normally at this time we would talk, oh, where we can follow you, but you just got to see him at the matches. I mean, he's there, he's advertising, companies are promoting him. Of course, just like this big match, Matt Riddle versus Timothy Thatcher, MLW March 29th. I'm excited to be there myself too, as someone who's followed MLW and excited to see you guys in the ring again. It's going to be a great night. So, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Congrats on everything going on.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Triller TV Plus if you can't be there live, but please, if you live in the area, professional wrestling is meant to go to. You need
Yes.
to be in the building. Like, that's the best part, the best way to experience professional wrestling. So if you can go to the Coliseum on the 29th, please do. MLW.com, you still can get tickets and all that. Professional wrestling is meant to be experienced in person. So anytime you can get to the building of any professional wrestling that you enjoy supporting, please do that. That's what I say to the fans. And also, because I work for Pro Wrestling Noah, also on March 31st, they have a big event where the GHC heavyweight champion El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., who's a third generation star and incredible talent, will be defending against Jake Lee, and they're on Wrestle Universe. So please, no, please, MLW on the 29th, please, War Chamber on Triller TV Plus, and then on the 31st, Wrestle Universe for Pro Wrestling Noah, please. There are two companies that have been very kind to me, and so I would like more people to experience them because I enjoy them very
Yeah.
much.
And I think with COVID and everything, it kind of gives you that new, like, enjoy, because you never know, like that was taken in an instant. So I think it gave everybody a renewed appreciation for going to the shows and feeling the energy, especially the different energy too. When you go to Florida and then when you go to Japan, and you see that, you feel the different energy. It's really exciting. And wrestling is so universal that you don't have to speak the language and still kind of understand what's going on in the ring and the storytelling and the characters, and I think that's what makes wrestling special. So totally agree with you.
100%, sir. Well
Yeah.
said. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.